Welcome to the Vertex Podcast, where we discover the humanity in artists. I'm sitting down with creative professionals of all types each week to get more into the human side behind their incredible work. I get into their life stories, I get into their challenges, and I get into what fuels their creative drive in hopes to show you that your journey might be similar and that your dreams might be closer than they appear. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into it. So, I know that a lot of things that influence us as creatives are oftentimes the things that aren't art related. And so, a lot of times it's like the other hobbies or other things in your life that kind of make those decisions for you creatively. And so my question to you would be, what are some of the biggest non-art related elements in your life that influence who you are, you think?
When you say non-art, does that like only include like drawing and painting, or like
Hmm. I mean,
there's
anything
like
that,
books?
movies and books are cool too. I guess just separated from your artistic practice. Hmm.
I would say I've been watching a lot of films and getting into like cinematography, which I feel is influencing my artwork in some ways. Um, and then there's like I will like go on my notes, um, like randomly throughout the day. I'll just think of like certain concepts or like narratives that I'll write in my notes. They're like, I think at the moment I'm trying to like push the narratives in my artwork and painting. So there's certain like concepts that I'll come up with in my head that I'll just like write down just from like I think everyday experiences that I have, or just maybe I'm watching something or I just see something. Um, Let me see if I can pull up an example.
Hmm.
Mm. Oh, and it's like even like content that I consume online. I like think it's a cool concept or something, so I will write it down in my notes, and then um, hopefully in the future I can actually draw it out. But like um, here's one of them. It was like, so I think I watched like a video on Instagram or something, but it was like the the last bird of its like species. So
Hmm.
it's like calling out like a mating call or something, but it's like the last one, so it's like it's
Oh,
singing out
shoot.
into silence, so no one is ever going to answer him, and it's like a super, it's like the feeling that I that kind of video evoked. It's just like you're singing out into like an abyss, like no one that's like you is gonna call back to you because you're the last of your kind. So that kind of idea was pretty cool to me, and then I just wrote it down, and I think it would be really cool to make a concept out of that, whether that be like having like an actual bird in my painting, or maybe it's like symbolism for like a person that is the last of their kind or something like that.
Mm, damn. It's so unfortunate, like for the bird too. It's like, because
Yeah,
I don't even think it knows it's the last one. It
yeah,
wouldn't be doing a mating call if it knew it was the last one. So just to be able to like see that, and that is a narrative that I think a lot of people can relate to as well. Um, we're often like we're so connected, or at least we like to think we're connected through like through all the technology and like phones and internet, but a lot of times we feel alone, and I think sometimes it'll even make like technology itself will make us feel alone too, um, especially with certain algorithms nowadays because they're so curated. It used to feel connected, but like on the internet, things used to feel a lot more connected. But sometimes like I'll be looking at my Instagram feed and then I'll be looking at G's Instagram feed, and it's like it's not even the same app. Like we're seeing completely different things on Insta, and it's like it feels like it's not really a big connected web anymore. It feels like we're all in little cocoons, you know. And like that's terrible. It's there. Like I think it sucks because then you still think that that's the whole world because that's what the internet was like taught to us. It was like this is what the world is like, and the fact that you know it's just whatever we see, whatever the app wants us to see, really, and people are shaping their whole perception of the world off of it. You know, everybody's got this different viewpoint of what planet Earth is. It's like, oof, man. So, what makes you see into have you always been one of those people to see into the narrative of things versus like just the literal objective thing that was there? Like instead of just seeing like a bird, you were seeing so many layers underneath it. Have you always been that way?
Um, a good question. I don't know. I think the more I delved into art, it was like I started thinking of like these deeper concepts. I don't think I was necessarily always like that. And I will say like the art that I prefer or like I tend to gravitate more towards has like a narrative to it. It's, I feel like a lot of the times now, um, there's a lot of art pieces that are just like visually aesthetic, but they don't necessarily have like a deeper meaning. And that could just be tie into like how art is so quickly produced nowadays, rather than like way back then. There was usually like stronger or a deeper narrative, just because it took so much time to make the artwork that you know people the artists would spend so much time just thinking about the narrative and like the story behind it. So I feel like I tend to gravitate more towards those pieces of artwork. And yeah, I think they feel like stronger, not only like visually, because there's like little hints that you can look at because of the narrative behind it, but like I think it can also evoke like a deeper feeling within the viewer.
Yeah. I think sometimes too it's something that you have to kind of build within yourself the ability to receive it. You know what I mean? Like there was there was a time where I was a lot less like emotionally sensitive or just receptive to things that would be emotional. I used to get told by my friends that I would ruin movies because we'd be watching something and it'd be like a sad part and everybody else is in it and they're feeling it and they, you know, they on the verge of tears or they feeling it. And I'm like cracking jokes at how the dude's armor looks. I'm cracking jokes at like, yo, he didn't even close his eyes all the way or whatever. Like I'm just saying crazy stuff just to get laughs. And I think it took some development within myself to be able to just even have a place for that, you know, because a lot of times it could just go right over your head. Um, was that something, was that your case too? Did you have to develop that within yourself?
I actually think mine was kind of reverse, which is kind of funny, but um, yeah, I would like easily get emotional with movies um, that are like that. Well, I think people would get like emotional over them, but yeah, I would easily get emotional. But I think now it's kind of like switched over. Um, it's funny because like once I started, once I was in college and I started taking like I think storyboarding classes, and you kind of learn like the structure of every story. So it's like every story kind of follows a certain plot or like I forgot what it's called, but like it's like a curve to it.
Mhm.
So you kind of understand how a movie or like a story is supposed to go. So after that, I was like, oh, like every movie kind of follows this, so I kind of know like what's gonna happen. Like usually, I think there's like it was a book that I read maybe, but it was like usually the main character's closest companion or something like that within the story is gonna die. So
Mm,
whether that be dad, their like best friend or something like that. So it's like now it's easier to expect. So I'm like not as emotional about it because I can kind of predict what's gonna happen. Um, there are still some movies that I like can't get emotional over. It's just harder now.
yeah, because it's like so predictable. It's like they pass out or they die, and then you're like, oh yeah, like saw this coming from freaking the first chapter.
Yeah.
Hmm. I found that um certain movies are like that. A lot of animated movies can be that way too, where like it has this like you get to the point where almost at the 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 main objective that the person has. Say like the objective is they have to bring some kid back to their hometown or something. And so then the friction is all through the mess that they get through to get to the place. And then like they're about to get to the hometown or whatever. And then something terrible happens and then it all goes down. And then something happens in the end and then everything goes back up. And then it's like happily ever after again. And like, it's just kind of annoying. Like to me, it gets like annoying because I'm like, ugh, like, wish they would switch up
It's
the
just
story structure a bit.
it's just a cookie cup formula that's like been known to succeed. So I think that's why so many people do it. Um, in terms of like mainstream shows and movies. But I think there's like other like the indie shows and movies that are trying to stray away from that. I think sometimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very like refreshed with a lot of the new stories and things that come out now because of that. Because it's like it's not so just predictable and so like streamlined. It feels too safe. It's like the regular like thing you would get at like a safe option at a restaurant or something. It's like okay, like it'll work, but like, dang, this is not exciting at all. Hmm. Interesting. So, if you were to, this might be a little bit of a harder question, but I know that you like to often tell stories, and I mean, you even want to tell like larger, maybe longer form stories. Uh, what kind of tweaks would you put to that safe story structure that you think would be cool if you've thought of any?
I feel like that one is a hard question. I think because like there's so many things that have been done already, so like to think outside of the box is really hard. Um I don't know.
Yeah,
I
all
have
good.
thought
What'd you say?
I don't know if I thought that far because I like I'm in the process of like brainstorming a graphic novel pitch, but I have like other projects happening at the time, so it's like it's definitely like a lot of like brain power just to um have this on the side while still working on my main project. So I don't know if I can answer that right now.
Hmm, all goody. Well, I am curious to know how how a lot of your creativity started. Like, where did it all come from? Because I know you speak a lot about your influences, but a lot of these influences came about as you were already being a creative and like you kind of got inspired or boosted along the way. But what was maybe the earliest context of inspiration that you had, or is there any one thing that you saw or experienced that made you want to just blaze down this path? Because you started this so young and you were so and you found a lot of traction at such a young age, and it just makes me wonder like what there's got to be a strong pull or a push there. I'm curious to know where that started.
Um, are you kind of referencing like when I started drawing as a kid and like my inspirations?
Yeah, just anything. I mean, whether it's what you saw as a kid, whether it was like, the environment you were in, or if you saw some successful artists when you were like whenever you were a kid, or
Mhm.
anything like that, just any starting point.
I would say like I started as a kid I would start drawing a lot after seeing my siblings draw in their sketchbooks, especially my oldest brother. I think they would really inspire me and push me because I would see their drawings and I'm like I would like to do that, or I would be like, oh, I can do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like kind of like inspiration slash like competition. Like I would want to be competitive with them in terms of drawing. Um, and I think that really pushed me. And then just like um, cartoons I would watch when I was little would always inspire me. And then I used to read a lot of manga when I was younger. Um, and that you can you could kind of see that in my older style. Like I would always draw like very big eyes and like the um, the small chins and stuff like that when I was
Mm-hmm.
when I first started drawing. Yeah.
Mm. What was the what were like the vibes or the overall feel in your home structure, like in childhood? Was it like a very peaceful upbringing? Did you have to, was it like super strict? How were how were like your relationship with your siblings and your parents and stuff?
Um, Growing up, it wasn't the most peaceful. I don't want to like get too like into that, but yeah, it wasn't the most peaceful in terms of like just the family dynamic. I think there was a lot happening. Um, but I think uh, my parents did their best in terms of like trying to make sure that we had a good childhood. But at the same time, they were working a lot, so there were times that we like were able to do like extracurriculars, but there was also a lot of times where we were at home a lot. So I think we just found a lot of ways to keep ourselves busy, and that might have like tied into like how we just got into art and of course a bunch of other things.
Yeah. Sounds like it was, I can relate to that a bit, where, my parents were often really busy just working through the days and stuff, especially as a kid. I was in like kindergarten, and it was me and my sisters, and we'd have to just like, I mean, my oldest sister would watch over us, and we'd just be like, just playing around, or, I spent a lot of time drawing, because that was really like all you could really do um, after you like did your homework or whatever. That's if you did your homework. Yeah. So, okay. So then what kind of um like what about your relationship with school and like your classmates? Like, what kind of student were you in like grade school?
Mm, uh, I was an all A student, I guess. I put a lot of work into school. Like I was a try hard.
Hmm.
Um, but I would still, of course, like find the time. I think I had like a big imagination when I was younger, so I would just like doodle all over like my classwork or my homework after like finishing it. Um, and then I moved when I was like 9 years old to like I was born in Rochester, New York, and then I moved into like a rural city in Georgia. Um, and then we moved again like when I was in middle school, but it was really hard to like adjust to the new environment, and I was like very awkward and just trying to fit in. Um, and I was like going through puberty, um, just very awkward, looked very awkward. So I think in one of the ways that I would like, what is it? What's the word? Like not interact with people. Like, oh, like a
Like,
social
dissociate?
escape, like an escape from, like a way to have an excuse to not talk to people is like to draw and everything.
Mhm.
It's myself busy. Yeah, during those times.
Mhm. Were you the were you the type of person who, whenever you would go to a new place, you would allow or you would let, like, your drawing skill help, like, break the ice for a lot of people? Like, I moved around a lot too whenever I was younger, and anytime I got to a new place, I wasn't really doing a whole lot of introducing of myself. More so, I'd be like in my own little corner drawing, and then somebody would just be nosy and like check, and then they'd be like, "Hey, this stuff is pretty cool." Like, and then
Mm.
if it's something that they like, then they start talking to you. Was that experience like that for you?
It was in like elementary slash middle school, and I think I was able to make some friends that way. But then after I moved, like the second time, I low key got bullied for, or like I got teased for just like my artwork, and I was
Hmm.
like super embarrassed about it. So I kind of stopped altogether in high school, like after my freshman year, and I just focused on my academics because I was just so embarrassed that like I did art.
Really?
Yeah.
Why were they? What were they like? Were they like taking your stuff, or were they just making jokes? Or
No, it was. I think it was like a super old Instagram account, and I was like posting all of this. It was like super corny, so I mean, you
and that's high
probably had it right.
school. That's
Yeah,
high school.
yeah, but like after that, I was just like, oh, I don't want to show this side of myself anymore. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Dang. And so you decided to stop, and that was freshman year of high school.
um, yeah, but I took a art class in freshman year of high school, and then after that, it was like I stopped doing art until college.
Until college. So
Mm.
what got you back started?
COVID.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh. Like, what was it? Just like, man, I'm in the house. I'm just gonna like
I think
pick
so.
up the pencil.
Yeah, because we stopped our senior year of high school, what, like 3 months, 2 months early. So we were like, what the heck? What do we do now? So
Hmm.
it was perfect time to do whatever. Um, I think a lot of people during COVID um, started a new hobby or like started old hobbies again. So that was me. I started art again, and then um, yeah, and then in college I tried to go and study biology at first.
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't having a great time, and then I was like already doing art again while doing that. So I took like one art class in college, and then I was like, oh, this is super fun. And then I decided to switch my major to fine art.
Okay. I got a couple of questions from hearing this. So, for one, when you stopped doing art, what direction did you go to instead? I hear that you said you went for biology. Was there another pathway in mind with that, or was it just the first thing you thought of, or I'm
Like in
curious?
high school, what did I like go towards?
Yeah, like, because I know high school is a place where they're all like, you want to start thinking about what you want to do as a career. And
Hmm.
if, you loved art so much, but then you decided to stop it. And so then what did you do in the meantime?
Um, Focused on my academics and sports. I think it was also like pressure from my parents to like, go into the medical field. So I was like really pushing that, just trying to get good grades and like go to college. Um, I had no idea what college was in high school. I was like, let me just try to do well and see what happens. Um, and yeah, in college, I was like still kind of under their influence slash encouragement to go towards that pathway. And once I switched to art, they were also very they questioned it at first. I think they still kind of question it, but it's a lot better now once they're seeing that I can like make a living out of it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, Asian parents.
Yeah, I've heard the stereotype where it's like you're going into medical field or like law. Like they want pathways that are guaranteed to set you up for like good income, a good like job, good life kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
and stability.
uh yeah, stability, that's the word that I was looking for. So okay, so then with that, now that you know what you do, I heard that you said that you didn't even know what college was for real, like in high school. And so now that you know that and you're on the other side of college, what would you tell your high school self about college now? I'm curious.
Mm, uh, I would probably tell my high school and college self that like everything is gonna work out, whether that's like, like a direct path to what goal you want, or it's like a roundabout way. I think I was so like just stressed out about my future and like what it would look like and scared of failing or things not working out. Um, and then I think I overcompensated. And um, but I think I didn't need to. And I also think that like doing that also helped me at the same time, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Um,
can you explain?
so I feel like I like over overdid like a lot of assignments, um, and just like was overly stressed about everything. So it worked maybe too hard on things that maybe might have not affected my future. But also feel like at the same time, like the amount of work that I put in may have also led to like where I am now.
Mm, okay, I see. So it was the boost in your work ethic that was like the plus because like you knew how to work hard and how to focus and how to get the job done, but spent too many of those coins on things that may not have been as influential as you thought in the moment.
Mm.
Mm, yeah, I feel that. I had a similar situation too, and whenever I first when I was in high school, it wasn't if you were going to college, it was where you were going to college. And so I honestly thought college was just the next step. Like, you go from elementary to middle to high school. I just thought it was like high school to college, and that was just what it was. And like but you had to pay for it or something, or you had to get a scholarship or whatever. And so I didn't even see it as an option. It was like, okay, I just got to find somewhere to go. And
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
yeah, and then I went and my parents, I remember seeing how much money it was going to cost. I ended up going to SCAD, so it was like super expensive. And I remember like I remember seeing like how my dad was looking when he's like pulling the loan out, and he's like, sheesh. And I'm like, dang, I have to do this every year. And it made me like not want to because I'm like, this is too much for like what I'm getting. But they didn't want me to quit. And even with that, I didn't even feel like I had the free will to like say no to that and go on my own path. So I had to like basically stay in there. And yeah, it sucks when you're like just when you feel like, dang, I just have to like finish this. I have to push through,
Yeah.
and like it's important to know that stuff like college is like, that should ultimately be decided by the person who's going, not even the parents, um, not the job, not the school, not the sports team or whatever. Like, so if you want to go, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's got to sit in those classes, and you're the one that has to like, go through all that stuff. So, yeah. So, okay. So after college, or not even after college, after you started back drawing in COVID, there was, I mean, at that point, you hadn't drawn in like 3 years. And so, did you deal with anything like, dang, I could have been this much better, or like I should have been this good, or like, damn, why did I waste that time? Or like, there's so much I need to catch up on. Like, what was your first step? Where'd you even start?
Um, I did a lot of uh portraits like in my sketchbook. I would like start sketching my friends. And then I think that turned into the 100 faces challenge that I started. But I did have that feeling a lot. Like I felt really behind for like taking a 3 year gap and then like going back into art.
Hmm.
Um, and not only just like skill wise, but also like I feel like people that like kept doing art throughout, like they didn't take breaks, they were able to kind of have it a sense of identity within themselves and through their art. Like that's just something they kept like developing and developing, and like they were more in tune with it. So I felt like once I started back, I was like, oh, I don't really remember what I enjoyed anymore. And I think I suppressed a lot of that through high school just to like, fit in. Um, so like just starting that journey again, I was learning a lot about myself. But it also was like very hard. Like I was very um I guess reluctant or just like hesitant to like do draw some things or like show off like some things that I enjoyed drawing just because it was like I don't know if I want to show this side of myself to people because it felt kind of embarrassing. So now I'm like gradually, and I still feel like I am kind of learning to open up more about like my interests within art and like what I want to depict and like the interests that I have.
So, what kind of things did you tell yourself along the way? Like when those things got tough? Like I know you spoke of those tough times, but like in those moments when you're like you're kicking your own ass about what you should have did, like what were you saying to yourself in order to like get forward to the next day?
Um, Advice from a lot of artists, like they're always like comparison is a thief of joy. Like and it's just like something that's inevitable at the same time. Like you're always going to do that, but learning to, overcome that or just look past that. Like you're on your own journey. Everybody's journey is different, and people peak at different paces and just like grow at different paces. So yeah, they might be good now, but maybe that's their peak, and you're gonna get there like in a couple of years or and go past that. So it's like everybody's journey is different. You can't just like just see at this moment. It might seem like you know you're so far from this person, but like the future is you never know what's gonna happen.
Sure, absolutely. You just have to like press forward. And I believe that a lot of these things happen for a reason, and like you have to go through those types of things. Not to say that you have to go through that exact experience, but a lot of times once you get to that better place, you can better handle the situation or learn to keep the blessing you have what you because of what you've been through, because of like the hardship that you had to experience beforehand. Like if you have if you're like freelancing and you're like frustrated with freelancing, then you might have to get like a shitty job or something to compensate. And then by the time you're able to get back at freelancing, you're able to enjoy it fully because even though freelancing is tough, the alternative. I'm like, shoot, I could be back at this place. And so let me go ahead and get up and do what I need to do, you know. Mm. So, okay. So with high school, there was there was focus on more of a focus on fitting in. By the time you got to college, it was back and it was, growing steadily. How did you start to take that from, or you said that you were doing portraits of your friends and things. How did you start to turn that into like opportunities for yourself?
Mm, like in terms of like commissions.
Commissions or like getting into exhibitions and or at stuff at college or stuff in the city, anything. I think a lot of
Uh,
people are they're drawn. I can imagine people watching or listening that they can just draw and they may be able to draw pretty well, but they're just in the sketchbook all the time, or they're just on the iPad and they just keep throwing it at Instagram and they get like so many likes, but it's not really getting any traction. They don't know how to bring the opportunities to them.
so I would say after I started like posting on social media, like just doing little sketchbook portraits, I had a good number of my friends just start asking me to do portraits of them, and then I was like, oh, this would be a cool side hustle for like in college. So I started doing like commissions of for my friends. And then I think just like throughout college, I was kind of just trying to find as many opportunities as I could, um, because I think that's important as an artist. You just really have to put yourself out there. So I would like do the markets that my college had. I would make like illustrations to turn into prints and then stickers, which I don't do anymore. But I think that was like a cool little thing that I did in college that was pretty profitable. Thought, yeah. Um, then I started doing some like paintings. Once I started learning how to oil paint, and people would ask me to do like um, portraits of their family members or like themselves and their partner. Um, and then once I moved to Kennesaw after I transferred from the first college that I went to, um, I started going more and more into the city and just trying to find opportunities. And then um, I volunteered for what Stack Squares. Um, that's where I met you, and then I assisted you, and then after that, I was like assisting other people, and then somehow I was like doing festivals, and then getting like paid mural jobs, which was really cool. I think that's
Mm.
like the gist of it.
Hmm. How much of that was volunteer? I know you spoke specifically of volunteering for like Stack Squares and stuff, but how much of that was work that in how do I ask this question? I'm asking this question on behalf of people who don't believe in paying a little bit of dues. You have to eat a little like mud at first, to kind of get some traction. And whether it's like doing an internship for lower than you're supposed to, doing like a project over here for free, volunteering over here because you want other rewards besides money. Because right now money's not the focus. Money is like secondary or like third. You're trying to get into the industry. You're trying to get into the network of people. And so how many of those opportunities were you taking with like growth in mind that wasn't monetary?
Um, the very first mural that I did wasn't paid. It was we were there together. It was the 44 Murals project. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
first experience of my life. I was like having an existential crisis while painting that. And it was like it was so super cold. The conditions were like crazy, and I was like, I think at like one point I was like there by myself, and I was like, why am I doing this right now?
Mhm.
Um, but I will say I think that's like still something that artists should do maybe like for their first project if it's either free or like very low paying. I think that's kind of just how you have to build your portfolio and your rapport. Like it's just something that you should go through. Um, that's my opinion. But luckily after that I was able to get like the second mural I did was a paid project, so it turned out to work in my favor. And then nowadays I'll do like some festivals that are unpaid to build my portfolio, but I don't like to take too many of them at this point because I feel like I have like a pretty decent portfolio to where I don't like want to do free work anymore unless I really like the festival. Just because it's very um tiring on your body and your like mental state just to do those, you know?
For sure. Sure. Murals are hard work. Like, it's
Yeah.
fun to see them in the videos when you're sitting there and you're painting and they think it's just smooth,
Yeah.
but it be hot and it be cold and it be high up and you have to climb that scaffold or that lift, or I mean the lift is like the easy one, but get up on that ladder and I mean you're up there and like, that's like silent suffering of muralists. Like, you don't really hear a lot about like the shoulder pain when you're up there and it's high. Like, you're just reaching up high and you're like, oh my God, shoulder is flaming.
I
Hmm.
think I had so much like energy the first year that I did it. Like I was like knocking them out and just like feeling great. But even now, it's only been like what a couple years since I'm doing them, and like I'm already so tired when I work on them. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think nowadays I've been spoiled by assistants. Like, I almost have to have somebody with me. Cause if not, like, I cut myself too much slack. I'm like, I did a little bit. I'll come back tomorrow. Or unless it's like some crazy deadline I have to hit, I
Yeah.
like to just have people there just so that like we can get this done in a timely manner.
Mhm.
Also just so that people can be there with me, because I feel like I'll leave quickly for myself, but I don't want to get there and then like it's been an hour and I want to go home, but like the other person is like, "Yo, we just got here. What are you doing?" And so it'll keep me accountable a lot of times. Um, and I just like the idea of being able to spread some of the money to the people around me, because that's kind of how we all it's kind of how we survive in the community. It's like whoever gets the big fish breaks off pieces to the other people, and then when they get the big fish they break off pieces, and we all kind of stay fed that way.
Exactly.
Hmm. Okay, so then how did doing the murals start to affect the way that you, for one, the way that you create your other artwork, like your more um common pieces of work, and how did it affect your like schedule in college and things? Like, how were you able to balance the two? What was like a day in that life like?
But was the first part of your question how did it does it like influence my other artwork or like did you say
Right.
other work? Oh,
How does
okay.
it influence your other artwork? So like mural painting can influence like this. Now that you've been painting murals, what does it make you do whenever you're not at the wall?
Mm, I I feel like I still have like a big like internal conflict when I do mural work versus like other types of work, whether that be like illustration or fine art. Um, just because I think like with public artwork, um, you can't paint anything that you want most of the time. It's like you have to kind of filter yourself because there's only like so many things that are technically allowed. Like not only in festivals are more relaxed, of course. Like they'll let you do almost anything except for like vulgar or whatever explicit stuff. But then like if you're working for commissions and like for the city, it's like usually the theme is like, oh, it has to be, based on like community, and there's like very specific themes. Like usually you're painting like flowers or people or like people holding hands or something like that. So I think I have a hard time like kind of organizing these themes in my brain to where my work still feels cohesive while at the same time kind of like still fitting within these realms of like what it has to be in. Um, so like when I'm doing also like my style as well. I feel like with mural paintings, I find that I tend to go towards more like realism slash something more rendered, just because I don't know. I feel like it's um partnered with like the idea that it has to fit within the themes of like specific themes of what the city wants or the community wants. Um, it's just I think what I've strayed towards. Um, I think I'm having a hard time explaining this. Um,
All good. Take your time.
so when it's like commission based versus festivals, there's like sometimes I want to play with different styles as well. And I find it like I still want my stuff to feel like cohesive, but it's hard to like kind of do it when they like want vastly different things or allow vastly different things. So when I'm also drawing on my tablet or something like that, I sometimes I want to do something more sketchier, but like I feel like, oh, this kind of doesn't feel cohesive with like my mural work, something like that. Or if I'm like wanting to do like stuff for graphic novel, I feel like that kind of work is better if you do something more like line work based, because like you can't just render every page. You can, but it's like that's like asking for death. That's like crazy. So I'm trying to find a balance like somehow with a style that kind of flows with everything. But I think it's very hard, and like I'm struggling to figure out if I should just like have different styles for those different types of like industries, or just like figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your second question was how did I handle like murals on top of like college work?
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, murals didn't come that often in college. They were just like here and there. Um, but when I did have them, I would have to ask like my professor to be out of class. And sometimes they were okay with it, and sometimes they weren't. So there was just sometimes there was some clashing, and then I think once I got like further along with my degree, they were more open to me um, skipping class for that, because you can say you were doing like work for that class, if that makes sense, because the classes are like more open ended. So if you like tie it into your body of work for that year, then they're like more open to it.
Tell me about the times that that it did clash with the professors, and like what type of resistance did you meet? I'm curious.
There was one time that I was trying to ask for like to take off a couple of days for a mural. I think it was like for Forward Warrior, and he was just like, "Oh, this isn't gonna be excused or whatever." And then I had like to turn an assignment in, and it was like I thought it was finished, and I showed it to him, and I was like, would this be like suitable? Would I be able to get a good grade for this, just so I could get like some feedback before I turn it in? And he was like, oh no, this is gonna get like a C. And I like started crying because I was like so overwhelmed with like everything happening. It wasn't just like that specific moment, but it was like trying to deal with like being on top of all my classes um while the festival was happening, and like still being a part of that and being engaged with that. So like that moment was like probably one of the most like dramatic, but it was like I don't know why I got so emotional. And it was just like a C. Like C's get degree, so it should have been fine. But
Yeah,
I like
but you were, I mean, but you've been an A student, so like a C ain't
that.
that ain't that's like getting an F. You might as well get an F if you're gonna get a C. Hmm. Damn. So, man, and so, that sucks sometimes. How that is like. What is what's your opinion on, especially when it comes to art school? I feel like art is something that's so subjective, and you should be able to. It's basically a place for you to express yourself because your your power as an artist is going to come from your individual voice. I think so. Your voice for the stories that you want to tell, and then your skill and like your ability to execute those things. There are some exceptions, whether you just want to be in the industry as like just a worker, like if you just want to be like like an animator where you're just kind of making things move, or if you want to be, I mean, I think even as a storyboarder, you're still having to design, you're still having to create the narrative based off of the script. But if you're just like in the regular like assembly line type of art making, but I think a lot of the power comes from your individuality. And with professors, at least during like just recent years, when we were in college, the professors were oftentimes, um, I think students get stressed out about making good grades because they want to have that good. They want to make good grades because they're in school. You know, they're paying for it. They don't want to fail the class or whatever. But I've seen people get so stressed over making good grades, but in order to make good grades you have to please your professor, which is at the end of the day is just another artist. And so you're tailoring your work that that you're making during this developmental time. You're tailoring it to someone else's opinion, to multiple people's opinion as you snake through these classes over the course of the 4 or 5 years, whatever. And like, what would you tell people that are going through these times and are like really stressed out about making the best grades possible? Like, how would you find a balance? Because you don't want to like be like, oh, forget the professor, forget school, and then flunk out. I don't think that helps. But at the same time, I don't know if worrying so much about what the professor thinks and getting like a perfect score every time, I don't think that's gonna be good because you can graduate with a 4.0 art degree, but like where does it get you, unless you have your own voice.
Exactly, yeah. It's all
And
about the portfolio.
yeah, and so like how would you, I guess if you were able to go back to yourself that was super stressed about making the best grades, or even if you just knew someone in college who was like really just like, oh my god, I have to get, I want to make sure that I do what I can to get a good grade,
Mhm.
what would you tell them?
I would say maybe at first, like try to have a conversation with your professor to um where you're like voicing your concerns. Like maybe they're pushing you too far into one direction that you're like not trying to go into. I would voice that to them. And if they're open to it, then great. But if they're not, then um I would say suck it up and get the good grade, whether you like the artwork or not. Maybe it just takes you um I would say make the artwork to where it gets you a good enough grade and then focus on creating what you want to and creating your portfolio outside of those classes. And I only say that because I experienced that where I had one class and I like voiced my concerns to one professor and he basically completely shut me down to where it was like, "Oh, your opinion is invalid. Like this is what good art is and what you're making isn't good art." So it was like crazy situation. He was very condescending. those it sucks that those professors exist because I think it just like it it builds the insecurity in the artist and it just like brings the artist down. Like we're still students and we're still like learning to have confidence in ourselves and just like having faith in ourselves, and then like a professor tears all of that down. So it sucks that students have to go through that and that professor is teaching.
I'm still
But
at it.
yeah.
You ain't gonna name
um
drop. Not gonna name drop, but
no,
you know
but
we want to.
crazy, crazy work. But yeah,
Mm,
I also know that it's not like not everybody has the privilege or the time to like do all the classwork and then have time outside of those classes to build your portfolio. So um I don't know, if it comes to that point, I don't know what I would do. Maybe like focus on building your portfolio over the summer, or after college is always like the last resort because people are still building their portfolio after college is pretty normal.
heck yeah, man. A
Yeah,
lot of times people just come out of college with just a bunch of work they did in college, and it's all fruits and naked people and vases and like a tree, And it's like if they want to be a concept artist for games, they can't use any of that.
exactly.
Mm. So, do you think that psychology even of of creating work not only to get a specific grade, but then even just having the deadline of like, hey, this is due Friday, hey, this is coming up in 2 weeks or whatever, that keeps you studious in college. When all of that is gone, did you find yourself dealing with a little bit of that? Like, dang, there's no urgency. Like I've seen people who they get out of college and college was all they had going on. And so they're like super studious, and then they get out of college and there's no urgency. There's no professor, there's no class, there's no homework, and so they just their productivity just crumbles. And they're like, I don't know what to create for anymore. I don't know what to do. Did you experience any of that like when you came out of college?
Luckily, I didn't because I like the whole time I was in college, I was just like, oh, I like in my head, this is what I want to create. So now I have the time to do it. I was like very like so inspired after college, I would say. Um, but yeah, wait, what was your question? Like, what
No, just if you
people?
experienced that. Like I was just
Oh,
curious because like you were speaking about how you were doing the work you had to do to get good grades, and I was just curious as if you had any of that. But I know that by the time I mean, you were already busy with other stuff in college, so that probably wasn't even the biggest thing on your plate once you got finished with it. You were like, oh yeah, and I finished college. Like that's like the sprinkles, and so hmm, yeah, that's an interesting one. Um, because it's like, man, I wonder how that feels to like lose that kind of North Star. I think that's the danger. I personally think that's the danger as an artist to get too invested in making good grades and not having your own thing going on the side of it.
I
Because
think it's not.
yeah. What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
You
Oh,
got it.
okay. I was gonna say, I think it's not only like them focusing on the good grades, but also like focusing on building like the technical skills can also take away the passion of making art, because I did experience that a little bit. Like you're just so focused on like improving your skill and just like getting the repetitions out that like eventually art can become like, I don't know, going through the motions, or just like you're learning how to get better in this specific way. That makes sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
I've experienced that a lot. I just had to kind of get out of that because there's so much art that gets that gets told, but it's like you're building these tools to be able to like build the narrative or the story or the pieces that you want to build. And man, I was so wrapped up in trying to get good because I thought that that's what I needed to get all the dream jobs and stuff that I wanted. I thought that anytime I got rejected from some job, my art wasn't good enough. If I didn't get a hit back off of a show or off a mural, my work wasn't good enough. My idea was that if my work was that good, they would have let me in. Even though there's other factors outside of my control. But that was like my idea with it. So I was so focused on just trying to make the work so damn good that it was like undeniably dope. I'm like, I'm gonna get so good. They have no choice. They have to let me in. Just it they wouldn't even feel right saying no to me. But what ended up happening with that is that like I was seeing people get in who weren't as skilled, who their work wasn't as polished, their work wasn't as crispy or as clean or as smooth. So I'm like, well, damn, if it's not that, then like, what is it? And so over time, I started to learn like, okay, it's like content and substance is very important and it goes a long way. And that was something that even now I still have to like work on building, because there's just big like lizard brain parts of me that just wants to be like, just make something that looks dope for no reason. Draw a big tiger head with a sword going through it. And it's like, but what is that saying? What does that mean to you? It means nothing. It's just dope, you know? And like I want to be able to like say more and connect with people. Cause I was like, damn, why's my work not hitting? You know, like it's so good. Everybody's like, oh, it's so dope. But everybody likes it. Nobody loves it. And it's because they can't connect with it. And I'm like, well, what gets them to connect? What am I doing? It's like it's the content, man. You having to learn to like open myself up and what I'm feeling like and share a little bit of that on the canvas and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Dang. I lost my dang question I had. I had a question. Follow this up. Um damn. What was it? Let's see. Give me one sec. Okay. Um so okay, so whenever you get out of college, you are at this point, are you full-time freelance? Are you working a job? How are you like did you move back with your parents? How are you starting to have your real life as an artist now? Or not now, but when you finish college.
Mm. After college, I moved back with my family maybe for like a couple months, like 2, 3 months.
Mhm.
Um, and my the idea was like I was just gonna focus on building my portfolio after that, but they lived in like a city that wasn't very as fast paced as Atlanta, and there were like not that many opportunities. So it was like I need to go back to Atlanta. Um, and I was working at that time. I had a couple of projects that I was working on at the moment as a freelancer. But after I moved to Atlanta, I was like, I probably need another job just to make sure that I'm like financially okay on my own. So um, I tried to get a job, um, and then I like left after 2 days. I was like,
Really?
okay, yeah.
Why is that?
Um, I just didn't want to do it. I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go full time as an artist and see if I can make it.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I don't want to go back to this life. Like, I just want to go all in and hope for the best. So,
Was there like a final straw? Or was it like did somebody rude come up and you were like, you know what? Yeah, this is why I ain't doing this. Or like was it how tired you were at the end of the day? What was like that cutoff?
Um, I don't know. I think I just didn't. Nothing was clicking. I find passion in like creating, so it wasn't like a creative job. So I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Mm, mhm, mhm.
Yep. I was like,
Okay.
let me just go go for it and see what happens. And then it's been going well so far. So it's been a year and a half, I think, since I went freelance full time.
Mhm.
It's been
And so were you like, let me look up every mural call in existence, or were you like, you know, I'm doing commissions now? What was that like? Because bills hitting first of the month.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what were you doing to like make sure that you were okay with that?
I think at the time when I started, I was already like, well, at the time I started, my agent that I was working with at the time had reached out for me to me about a project, so that was like gonna sustain me for what a while. So that was like the first big source of income, and then after that, it was like during the summer, and that's like the busiest time for artists. So things opportunities just kept coming, so I was able to like I guess ride the wave, and it still kept going since then.
Mhm. It can be kind of scary sometimes when you're like, oh shit, nothing else is coming, or like when people when you have a project lined up and like it kind of falls through like right
Mhm.
when you needed it to hit. Oh
Yeah.
my god, what now? Do you have any like close calls like that?
I think luckily I haven't. Um, and then I will say like this year there was like a few maybe 1 to 2 months where it was like very slow. And that like worried me. I was like, when is the next project gonna come? But luckily before that I had like a big project that already happened, so I was able to sustain myself through those months. So that's like the good thing about like book projects or murals. It's like it's like a large source of income, and then you just like use it for a while.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like eat off of it.
Mhm.
So I know that a lifestyle like that, which can be so demanding of your time and your energy, it's also incredibly rewarding, but I know that it costs something. Are there any things in your life that you've had to give up or say no to in order to keep this going?
Mm, I would say no, but I think like for me, I'm the type of person that like is a workaholic. So I don't I'm also like semi introverted. I think like half. Yeah. But anyway, so um that combination just like I was like always like wanting to work on something, whether that be like creative or like doing like the business side of things. And I think that has worked in my favor. Um, so I don't feel like I have had to sacrifice too much just because my mindset is like, oh, I want to do these things because I'd rather see my life progress rather than be stagnant.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely feel that. Um, in college, there would be times where I was like the only one in the dorms on like Friday, Saturday night because all my roommates are out with homies, with whoever. They're at parties. I think I went to one party in college, just one. It was early, and I was like, saying that,
Yeah.
just saying it. I'd rather be doing something else, or I'd go into the city, get like hit up a show or something like that. Because at least with that, it feels like you're kind of inching your way closer into the community or something. Mhm. That's cool. So, okay. So I know that your your let's see. I don't want to word this. In terms of the work that you do, I know that you like to incorporate a lot of cultural elements into it, especially whenever you get the chance to do what you want to do. And I'm curious as to what parts of your culture, whether it's from Vietnamese culture, whether it's from your own personal family or just like friends or just things that you've discovered in life and want to show other people, what types of things are you hoping people get from the work that you do in those times?
Mm, I think that right now it's hard for me to tie Vietnamese culture into my artwork because I've been so like separated from it, like being born in America, not um like experiencing like what it's like back in my country. But it's nice that I like still experience like bits and pieces of it of what my mom still continues to do and my dad continues to do from their culture. Um and I guess what I'm trying to say is um although I don't have like strong ties to that side of me, I feel other than like what I've experienced through my parents. Um mm, to think about what I'm gonna say. I don't know. That's a hard question, just because I feel kind of like distant from that side of myself and my culture. I kind of like have uh what I've gravitated towards is like depicting a lot of different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm familiar with it, I kind of like exploring those different cultures. Um, but I guess what I would want people to get from that is like be open to doing those things, I guess. Like, I think sometimes people are like, they have to stick to like what fits in or like conform to what, like society's norms. And sometimes like seeing stuff from different cultures, whether that be like certain practices or certain clothing is um, kind of seen as weird or odd. I think just um, know that it's okay to do that and like I would encourage to do that because it's different cultures are very beautiful, different traditions that everybody has, and it's beautiful to be different. That makes the world interesting. If everybody was the same, it'd be very boring. So yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
keep doing that.
Mm. But you've been to Vietnam before, right? And so
It's I've been
I'm been twice. So I'm curious as to how your experiences were in that time. I know that you weren't able to go as much as you'd like to or as much as you'd hope, but I'm sure that you still experienced a lot in those times that you visited. What kinds of things were you able to pull from those visits?
mm, so the first time I went, I was only like 4 years old, so I don't have really any memories from that trip.
Hmm.
But I was able to go recently um, in 2024, like the end of it. Um, it was very eye opening, just seeing like my culture, and not only that, but like so all of my mom's side and my dad's side, they still have like a lot of siblings that live in Vietnam. So there are some siblings that were able to go to other countries, but it kind of just like the thought of like I could have been me, like I could have grown up in Vietnam, like if they weren't the ones that had decided to go to America, because it could have been any of the siblings.
Mm.
So that thought sat with me for a while. I think it was kind of conflicting, like how I would have grown up. Um, but it also made me very like thankful for growing up here as well, because I think the art scene in Vietnam is still like, it's not like here in America, as with like a lot of countries. Like you're able to make a living here in America doing art, but I don't think it's necessarily the same there. Um, which is funny because I actually met a muralist in Vietnam. He does like very traditional Vietnamese art, and he is making a living out of it. But I don't know how it would be doing other things, say like with illustration or like fine art or something like that. Because I think Vietnam is still very traditional in terms of the art. They have like developing contemporary art scene, but it's not anywhere near to like other countries or America. So I don't know if like me personally, I would have been who I was today if I, um, or I would have been an artist if I grew up in Vietnam. Um, so it was kind of jarring. And I was when I went, I was able to meet all of my relatives for technically, I would say technically the first time because I don't remember when I was little. And just like learning their lifestyles, what they do day to day, and where they lived. It was very interesting to see. Um, yeah,
Did you experience any cultural shock moments of like, oh
yeah,
damn, like this how y'all get down?
yeah. So like in Vietnam, a lot of people's businesses is connected to their home, so their business is like their home,
Mm.
like it's together. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like this is crazy. So one time we went to a restaurant and I had to use the bathroom and they're like, "Oh, go through this side." And it was like literally the house and I used like their house bathroom.
Oh
It
wow.
was crazy to me, that concept.
Yeah.
And then a lot of their businesses are like open. Like there's like no doors. It's just like an open storefront, which was pretty cool. It's like kind of like a garage door, I think. They kind of have that kind of idea, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
always open. Yeah.
Interesting.
The traffic is crazy over there. Um, I also had thoughts of like if I ever wanted to live there again, but I think I was conflicted because I really enjoyed my trip there, and like I've thought about living there long term possibly, but at the same time I like it was such a close community here, and I'm like very Americanized, and of course my career as an artist, I don't know like how all of that together would be able to transfer to, or my transition would be moving there.
Mm. Yeah. I guess it would it does kind of bring up its own challenges you'd have to answer for. Hmm.
Mm.
Wonder if there'd be some way to start forming a connection with artists through the person that you met, and then kind of going from there might find a little bit of traction. How long
I
did you stay there whenever you went in 2024?
think it was for a month.
For a month.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And then and um and you speak the language as well, right?
Yes, but not fluently. So like at home slash beginner intermediate, not
Mhm.
great.
What kind of did you get any of the why is your Vietnamese not better from people? Or did you get any of the like just, some people can feel a type of way when you don't speak the language perfectly.
Um, I don't think I got that personally because I think I would take Vietnamese classes online in college and I was practicing my accent. So I think a lot of them assumed that I was native until I didn't understand to a certain point. Um, yeah, so I didn't get that experience. Um, oh, but another point that I wanted to bring up was I think like my mindset is so like Americanized at this point that like if I did move back, I don't know if I would be able to connect with Vietnamese people there, or like I would have to develop a whole new mindset, I think.
Do you think
Yeah.
it's because of like the hustle in you, like wanting to like do things to like expand in like a business sense, or what would be the source of that conflict?
I've heard that like in Vietnam the culture isn't as bad as here. Like of course like American hustle culture is probably like one of the worst, but um just like cultural things, like stuff that I probably wouldn't understand now. Like there's a youth that are growing up and creating their own type of like culture and slang in Vietnam, and like I feel like it would be a hard time adjusting to that just because I'm not exposed to that. I've been exposed to American culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely be a it'd be some friction at first, especially being able to like I mean, well, you have a lot of family over there, so you'd at least be able to have people you trust pretty early. But in terms of like maybe people your age or people like colleagues and stuff that you can trust, it'd probably be a lot harder because it's just trying to figure it out. You know, hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Dang, that is cool. So nowadays, you are you are a muralist, illustrator, and you also do um what else do you do?
Mm, do painting sometimes.
Mhm.
That's about it right
Okay.
now.
So, I guess hmm, my question is what's your focus nowadays in terms of what you put your creative energy into? And there's one thing to do what you have to do for work, keep the lights on, keep food on the table. But when there is no when there is no job opportunity, what are you pushing forward in your own individual journey as an artist?
Right now, a goal of mine is to develop enough pieces for either getting represented by a gallery or a solo exhibition. So I've been trying to develop like concepts for a series of paintings. Um, that's what I've been trying to work on outside of like the paid projects that I have.
Mhm,
So that's kind of what I was telling you. I was like writing in my notes those like concepts. I think like all those concepts that I've written, I want to tie it into like a body of work of like studio pieces because I right now I don't have a whole lot.
mhm. So, who would you or where would you wanna show these pieces? Is it something would you like to shoot your shot at one of the galleries in the city, or are you trying to do this more so on your own terms?
I'm struggling with that right now because I'm not sure what to um, group my um, body of work into. Like, is it fine art? Is it just like more commercial work or um, something in between? I know artists that kind of have like a more illustrative style, but they can still do like exhibitions or they still do exhibitions. Um, so I'm not quite sure yet. I think like after I'm able to create like the whole body of work, I can more easily identify where I should do it or who I should go to represent my work.
Mhm. There's I'm always thinking about ways where we can bend some of these lines because I think that we're in a generation of artists now that we're like Venn diagrams. Like we kind of are in this corner, we're in that corner, and we do a little bit of that too. But artists back then didn't do that. They were like either just graffiti, just exhibitionists, painters, just book illustrators. But nowadays, like, we have the power to do all three. And so, like, there's no reason that we should have to stick to one facet either when it comes to telling our whole story. And I think that's part of why it's so hard to figure out, because you're trying to fit all of this into like one section, and you're like, no, there's like so much more to this that won't fit here. And so, like, I'm curious as to how that mold can be like how that boundary can be pushed. You know, a lot of times the walls between these like industries or these mediums are like paper, and they're only up because nobody's pushed them. Because the second you even try, it'll just go right down. And I'm curious as to like which of the walls around us are like paper. You know, um, I had an idea that I wanted to try one day of, because I've been doing game development just like as a hobby, finding ways that I can bring that into like a gallery space. And I thought of like developing a game and then having like a friend build like an arcade machine, and then like putting the game into the machine, and then like I could paint the freaking sides of it because
Oh,
paint everything else, and then you can literally just have like a little mini arcade. If I did that 3 times, you got like a little mini arcade in a show, you know? And I mean, that's just something that I was thinking of just when it comes to like trying to mesh these ideas together. And I'm
mm,
curious if you've thought of any ways to like just mix some of these lines a little bit.
mhm. That's that's interesting that the idea that you brought up. Would you side note, would you like have on the walls like the artwork that like was used to develop the game? Is that your idea?
Yeah, I was thinking like I could make the instructions like a piece behind it. Like a lot of times I really like how games had like a strong logo title. Like if you look at like Sonic the Hedgehog, like you'll see like that's a strong visual font. Or if you look at like Super Smash Brothers, you see like the whole joint. It's like all decorative and stuff. And I think that's a piece of art in itself. And then being able to like up underneath, you put like the B button, like the freaking you know how you'll see like Street Fighter and it'll be like the down arrow and it's like down and over and then it's like the Hadoken. Like if you ever see like the instructions of like a fighter, like a fighting game, it'll be like, you know, light punch, heavy punch, or like roundhouse kick, fireball, whatever. And it'll be like the little commands. And I think that could be like a piece of art in itself. And I think being able to make like a decorative like set of instructions or like the story, how it came together. And then even just having, like you said, even having like the concept art of how the characters came together and the world came together, um, those could all be pieces. And I think that
Yeah.
a lot of people who make these games, they're like such good artists. And a lot of times the work is just in that little booklet and it just
Yeah.
never sees the light of day because a lot of kids don't even read the dang instructions. They just want to throw the game in and play. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, it's so much work that just doesn't get seen, and it's like thankless work. And I'm like, you could really display those, you know?
Yeah.
And
That
so,
would be
yeah, I
cool.
think doing something like that would be fun. Or just,
Oh,
man, there is something about there's something about in RPG games, like old school RPG, like 2D grid, like Dragon Quest, Pokemon, like when you see that inventory screen where you see all your little items, you got potions over here, you got a dang health pack, you got this, you got that. The UI design of a lot of these things is like it's so nice. I really enjoy seeing how people design like a health bar go around the corner, or like see how many hearts you have in the corner, or you see the person's little portrait. You know, you might be playing as some character, but then they have a little portrait in the top that's representative of that character. And it's like somebody had to make that, you know, and they
Yes.
had to make it representative, but then also not so detailed that it's distracting from the actual character, but you also have to recognize it enough to know that that's the person you're playing as. Or like if you're playing a shooter, the grenade button, you have to design that little motherfucker down there to like let them know a grenade is coming. And like what do you like, you have to sit there and design stuff like that. And like I found
Mm.
those to be so interesting. And like I've been studying those a lot. Those are like that's a lot of thankless work going on. Like people don't be looking at the icons. They're like, yeah, I got another, I have a rocket ready. But like that rocket button though, look at it. It's beautiful.
Only the artist can appreciate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm curious. And if you haven't thought of it already, it's all good. But I'm curious as to like if you've thought of ways to fuse your work in certain fashions, or even like, or just anything. I don't want to put in any examples. I'm just curious to know if you thought of anything like that.
I have I thought it would be cool to fuse like um if I were to make like a graphic novel, like maybe have some of those spreads larger, like, and then turn it into a painting, but the painting is like it's not like a copy of the book spread. It's like actually painted in a different style, maybe like more realistic or in a more sophisticated manner. Um, and then that would be like part of the show that I do. Um, and then other ways that I've thought of was having like the characters within the story of the graphic novel, or just maybe like other original characters, turn them into um animations of some sort. But like I don't know, it's still very preliminary brainstorming. But maybe I do enjoy when um there's those animators that do the 3D animations, but they are very painterly.
Hmm.
They use Blender, but they like actually paint over the models to where it feels like actual brushstrokes, and sometimes like the brushstrokes are able to move. So doing that somehow and tying that in with like the figures that I paint in my paintings, or the characters that I create, or like just tying that all together. I think, yeah, that's all the ideas that I have so far. Not too many, not too in depth yet, but
No, it's got some good bones though. Like I think that a lot of the a lot of the art nowadays is like it's a lot of thinking, especially kind of in the styles that we use, or the styles that we do. It's a lot of like, how is this gonna go first before you start doing the drawing and the painting? Do you think that's like the muralist in us that's like not trying to waste paint? Like like I think about everything before I even really touch the paper. Sometimes I'll leave like I like to have the plans be agile to where, I got like a good amount of what I want. And, it can pivot over time, or I might just wipe it all and try again or whatever. But I get a good solid idea together before I start like putting the paint on the canvas.
do you overly plan? Because I have that problem.
I can. I can. It depends on how much time I have. If I don't have a lot of time, I get about 60% of it, and then I just try to go for it and try to build as I fly. But don't give me like a month to get a piece together. I'll sit there and plan it down. Like, or I'll procrastinate for like the first 2 weeks, maybe
Mm.
3.
I think that's the problem that I have with my personal work, like there's no deadline, so I overthink it and I'm like just do too much brainstorming rather than like putting anything on a canvas or paper. So I do think maybe with like those kind of projects, it's good to have set a deadline or a goal just because it can just, you know, yeah.
But how do you go about keeping yourself accountable for that deadline? I've been like, yeah, it needs to be done by next week. And then next week comes and goes. And I
Yeah,
did this
same.
much.
It's hard to keep yourself accountable. Maybe like post it on social media so you have to like
Uh,
everybody's making sure or keeping you on track. I
hey
don't
man,
know.
that's a cool strategy too. Where they're like, yo, y'all better hit me up the day before to remind me, let me know, or I don't know, maybe put yourself on like a if it doesn't come out by this day, then you got to do something, or I don't know. Think giving yourself a little bit of like raising the stakes a little bit might help.
Yeah, because it's very hard to like be self motivated, especially when you're like doing something creative. It's easy to
Hmm.
put off.
Hmm. So okay, for hmm, so I want to go two different directions, just because I'm curious about these things, and I think other people will be too. One direction I want to go is in the actual creation of your work. Curious to know what types of like the types of paints you use, your actual process, how you approach things. And then I also want to go into the different the things that don't involve artwork that you still enjoy doing nowadays. The things that kind of give you life and give you more inspiration whenever you've kind of run out of your creative bank account. When you have to go and touch grass, like
Mhm.
what are you doing? Which direction would you want to go into first?
Either one is fine.
Okay. So then,
First,
yeah, since we're already talking about painting and art, I'd like to know how you go about what's your hmm. So from inspiration to like piece hanging on a wall, can you give us like a can you walk us through that process?
mm, it my process is very chaotic to where it is not the same every time. Um, but I think generally I would have a source of inspiration, and that could come from many different sources. But once like I have that source of inspiration, I think I usually go into Pinterest and create a mood board um, based on like the concept that I have in my head or like the visual references that I want to use in order to create a specific kind of visual or narrative. Um, and then I'll either do some sketching on in my sketchbook or my iPad. And then eventually on my iPad, I'll figure out like colors of everything. Um, and then I'll either continue fleshing out the sketch on my iPad or I'll leave it kind of rough and maybe like improvise on if it's like a canvas or like a drawing. But not with murals. Usually with murals, I'll make sure it's very like everything is kind of figured out because I don't want to figure out on the site. I've done that before and I end up not liking the product most of the time. Um, but yeah, after I like figure things out on the iPad, I'll just take it to wherever it is, a painting, a mural, And then what else did you want to know? Like the specific paint supplies? Or what
Yeah,
did you
like
say?
what kind of things do you use? Are there any like hacks that you've picked up along the way that you wish you would have learned earlier and would have saved you a ton of time? I'll give you an example. The use of butcher paper for me is like game changing. The day I
What's
found
that?
out about butcher paper is like the paper that you'll roll out on the ground before you do a
Oh,
mural is like I have not touched a drop cloth since then. Like drop cloths, they just seem annoying now. Like now that butcher
yeah.
paper exists, I'm like, I would never tell nobody to buy a drop cloth when that exists because it's so much cleaner. It's easier to roll out. It's easier to like just replace. You don't have to like keep kicking it around and like straightening out the folds and stuff. And so, what are some things like that for you?
So two things that I've learned from other artists, but I haven't been able to utilize yet. But I learned recently. I was like, oh my god, this is a game changer. Is the first one was apparently like for oil paint. There's like a medium that you can use that dries up the or speeds up the drying time. So you can have something paint something in like I think the next morning or the next day it's like dry, which usually with oil paints it takes like at least a couple days. So that was pretty revolutionary to me because I was like, oh my god, this takes so long. I'll just have to work with acrylic paint. And then did you know that? I didn't know that.
I knew that there were things that you could use to help acrylic paint dry slower, but I didn't know that they had stuff to make oil paint dry faster. Did not know that.
That's crazy information to me. Because like you can't always get the same kind of textures with acrylic with oil, so that's why I like the blendy effects with oil, but I always struggle like because there's always like a deadline or a time frame that I would have to finish it within. Um, and then the second piece of advice that I got was pertaining to murals. So I would usually tend to work with just brushes because I could get like a specific color that I mixed. And that's why I kind of strayed away with spray paint until recently. I would kind of like now I kind of use a mixture of both. But I was at a festival and an artist, his name is Congo. He told me about another artist told me about this too, but it's like you can actually mix two colors of cans with I think it's just like the small tube.
Oh
You
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
connect the two, and then you can mix the two colors, which I never knew. And I
Mm,
feel like that's also a game changer because I like getting very specific colors in my paints.
mm. Yeah, because you do
'Cause you,
like to blend.
yeah.
I knew of the I knew of like the blending the can thing, but I thought it was more so just for like a gradient. I thought it was like a short lasting thing. So where like you'll maybe you put like a green into a yellow and then like the first like spray or so will be like green and then it'll fade into a yellow over time. But
Oh,
I guess if you shake it, it'll kind of like just mix, huh? Hmm.
you could do that.
Is it a specific kind of like straw? Is it like the freaking WD-40 oil straw, or is it like is it an attachment you can buy?
I think it's just the little one. Isn't there like a cap that has it already? What is it called? The stencil cap? I think he said
Oh yeah,
just
yeah,
that.
yeah. The needle, I think it's needle cap. I think that's what they call it.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. So you spray that down into the can, like past the cap, or you spray it into the other cap?
No, I still need to get the details down, but I just know
Mhm.
like in general you can do it.
Yeah, spray paints can be mixed, and I mean, and as you spray them, you can like keep mixing them. So you can like mix it with one and then spray it down and then mix some more, spray that down, and you can really treat it like a brush, like you can start off with like a can of white and just start like going. And as the white sprays out, you just add darker and darker colors and you can just start adding in values. But Probably a
That's
messy process, but
oh really? It's messy.
I don't know. I just I assume it's messy, but I have no idea. But I don't know. It might be cool. Just start like just bring like a bunch of white and then just like random cans and start like mixing them over time. Like start off your sketch in white and then just like slowly just start like that'd be kind of cool to watch. Like to watch somebody just run it. But
Hmm.
hmm, I don't know. I don't know. I would try that like on a canvas first. I feel like
Yeah,
if your first time doing it is like at a mural festival or something, that's bold.
yeah, like
That's bold. But hmm, that'd be like a hell of a reel though. Like you recorded that, put that out, people would be like, damn, watch this guy. Watch them. Yeah. Hmm.
idea.
Hmm. 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 Let's figure that out. Hmm. Okay. Cool. So okay, so then going outside of art, what are some things that you enjoy enjoy doing that isn't your art practice?
I enjoy reading. I have a lot of graphic novels that I'm trying to get through. Um, and then I like psychology books as well. I think learning those concepts can really influence the type of artwork you make and just like concepts within the artwork as well. Um, and then I enjoy a lot of outdoor activities, um, and just like being active. I'm not sure if that like directly ties into my artwork, but I think it's like a necessary break to have as an artist. It's like a good break to be away from your art. Like I don't think you should always be inside. You should take a step outside and have that break, and it kind of lets you recuperate and also can give you time to come up with new ideas.
Mm, yeah, for sure. Like I think every time there's something about nature, man, that is just it's unexplainable the way that there's always something new or something like to be noticed. Even if it's your same neighborhood that you go around every day for lunch break or whatever, you go and take a walk. It's like there's always something new. It's always constantly changing. And there's so many metaphors if you look for 'em in nature. Um it's crazy. It's insane. There was something about I went up Stone Mountain. Uh when was this? This was probably like a year or so ago. I went up by myself and there was something about going up and I'm seeing like the leaves come down because it was like November. So like the leaves have started to change, they're falling, they're flying in my face. Um I'm feeling like the wind was blowing like super hard that day. And I mean, normally like you can just say like, oh yeah, I just went up Stone Mountain on a windy day, is what it is. But then I started thinking about like ways that this can symbolize like, a journey, a climb by yourself, and like different obstacles, different resistance, and like there was a constant push, like from the wind, there was a constant push to like try to get not to get me to turn back, but like it's like a push. It's like a feeling of resistance that you're having to like trudge through each time. And I think the fact that I went up there by myself was also just like another like people can feel alone on their journeys and stuff too. And it's like that's just because I cared to look at it, you know.
Yeah,
There's like there's something there nature is special, man. Have you had any situations like that on like hikes or just encounters in nature?
I think so, but it's not like the difficult the difficultness of it, like how your hike was, but I get a sense of serenity and like peacefulness that I like to tie into my work. So it's kind of like the opposite side.
Hmm.
But I think nature is like is really great. It has a lot of metaphors that you can use if you're like open to letting those ideas in and like yeah. Um, and I think it's a great break from like all the media we consume. I think it's necessary. Like we're always bombarded with so much content, and just like taking a step outside is a good way to take a break from all of that and just be in your own thoughts.
Hmm. It kind of teaches you some patience too. You ever
Mm.
are you a big watcher of reels? Do you doom scroll?
I think everybody does. I am a victim for sure.
Yeah. I find myself like I don't like to scroll. I'll find a video, like if somebody sends me one, or I'll get caught up. Like if I go to like search something on Insta and like it might catch my attention of like whatever's on that first little video right there. But I tell myself not to scroll because like get caught up in that mess, man.
That's good. You
Like
have self restraint.
it's dangerous. It's really
It is.
dangerous. And I think it's made other things harder to enjoy because we're so used to getting the satisfaction like that. You know, whether
Yeah.
it's like the knowledge or the laughter or the cool thing popping up or whatever, it's instant. Within a couple of seconds, no more than like 10 seconds, you have whatever thing that they were trying to give you. And then it makes it harder to read and like harder to play, actually harder to play video games, like video games that
Yeah.
aren't like shooters where you're immediately just out blazing. Like you just sometimes it's just hard. I mean like I'll play other games and I'll like fall asleep because I'm like, yo, this game is slow. It's like, no, your brain is just too fast. It's looking for the satisfaction too quickly.
Exactly.
Mm,
Everybody's attention span has dropped significantly.
yeah.
It's very hard for me to watch movies nowadays and like be attentive.
Yeah. And it kind of sucks. Like I've literally been trying to do things to combat that. Like um something small I'll do is if I ever go somewhere and I order food, while I wait for the food, I just like sit and like people watch. Like I won't go on my phone. And you can feel the urge. You're like, damn,
Yeah.
I could be
It's
on
so
Pinterest.
Pinterest. You be on Pinterest?
Yeah, I go on Pinterest, I go on Reddit, I go on
Mm.
YouTube a lot. I even try to go towards longer content. Like I think I spend more time on YouTube than anything. YouTube and Pinterest are like my main ones. I feel like Instagram's memes and stuff have just gotten a little bit too confusing for me now. Like a lot of times they don't make sense,
Uh,
unless it's certain things are like really funny, they'll catch me. But a lot of them are just like what is this? Or like something just like explodes immediately and it's supposed to be funny. And I'm like, I don't know. It don't really connect with me like that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I sometimes though I do get caught. Sometimes it's some funny ones that I'm like, okay, yeah, that was good. But but I try to stay on like I think YouTube helps because it's like at least like a 10-minute video or something, or like
Mhm.
15 minutes where you have to kind of watch through and see what it is. But I don't know.
Do you well, you said you don't do it a whole lot, but like I guess when you do, like for me, I tend to like get on social media as like a form of escape. Like when I'm super tired or stressed, I don't want to do something or don't want to think about something. It's like the mindless scrolling just to kind of escape from the things that I have to worry about. I don't know. Is that like have you experienced that?
Mm, I do, but I think the things I consume are different. So I don't like to be on like Instagram and like Twitter and stuff like that like in moments like that, especially if I'm working. If I'm in the middle of drawing and I want to take a break, I'll go I've been playing a lot of chess online recently. Like I've been at it.
Or
And yeah, and I've been at it. And so I'll just stop and play like a couple games of that, or I'll put like a YouTube video on. I like to keep Insta around for the sake of like community and business. Like I go on there, put out the next flyer for the podcast, or I go and like show love to posts that other people have made, or I'll respond to messages and stuff like that. But yeah, I just know like I don't know. Instagram feels like checking the fridge, like just over and over again. You're opening up, it's the same stuff in there. Like
yeah,
why am I on here? You know, and I catch myself in that a little too quickly now, and I'll come out of it pretty quick. But um, yeah, Pinterest, like chess, Pinterest is disgusting. I will go down the Pinterest rabbit hole, some kind of fierce, and I'll be
yeah,
seeing
Pinterest.
one, yeah, and you'll see like three more pins, and you're like, damn, if I go down that one, I'm gonna see something up under that, but I want to come back and get that one too. Shit.
Yeah.
So like you gotta hit all three of these and then pick one, and then hope you remember to come back, and then I mean you can just snake your way down into oblivion on Pinterest, and
I
I'll look
didn't
up.
realize Pinterest was that
Hmm?
addicting. I thought it was like just me. I didn't
Oh
realize
no.
Pinterest was addicting.
I mean, I don't know if everybody's at it, but I think for artists especially,
Yeah,
they got some good stuff on there. And I think their algorithms are very good, and it's very easy to influence them. So like you can look at like two recipes, and then tomorrow your thing is full of recipes. And
yeah.
so um anytime I'm working on something, if I want to say I'm looking for like animal references because I want to draw this specific creature, then I'm looking up a bunch of stuff about animals, and then like after that, I'm just seeing like mad animals. I'm like, shit, these are cool, and this is giving me ideas I didn't have before. So shoot, yeah. And it at this point now, I see it kind of as a what else can I be inspired by? I'm not even
Mhm.
looking to be inspired, but what can I inspire myself with right now? I think that's like the attraction of the pull I have towards Pinterest. Like every time I see something, every time I go on Pinterest, I get inspired by something. And so
Yeah.
like I'll be wanting that. Mhm. Um so with the books and things that you read, is it um what kind of what kind of graphic novels are you into, and are you reading like regular novels? Is it fiction, nonfiction? Like kind of oh, you said that you read psychology books as well. Do you have any that like really hit you and like hit close to home, or like that you think everybody should read?
Mm, I read this one in college, but I don't remember the name of it. It was so long ago, but it was really good. I don't know if I remember. I'll let you know, but I don't remember the name. But I do have a lot of graphic novels that I enjoy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you want the names of those?
Yeah, sure.
Um, One of my favorite is The Many Deaths of Lila Starr. That's a really good one.
Many
Um,
Deaths of Lila Starr.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
oh, It's Lonely at the Center of the Universe. I really enjoyed that one. Um,
Okay.
and then um, still in the process of reading like the whole collection that I bought. I'm going very slowly. What's the other one called? Always Never. That was a good one too. That's probably
Always
like
never.
the very few that I've actually read. Like I've probably read like 4 to 5, so it's not a big list right now. But
No,
the
it
ones
was
I've read,
still. You'd be surprised of the number of people who've never read a book ever,
never.
ever.
I never read
Like
like in school.
no, like they
Heck,
don't, or like they don't finish the assignment, or like there's a lot of people out there like that who have not read a book ever in their life.
oh,
So Yeah, even finishing one book is like doing better than a lot of people
That's
for
crazy.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so and I think books are so they're so interesting to me because like you got to think about what it takes for somebody to want to write a book. They're so passionate about this one thing and they take years sometimes to consolidate all this knowledge and expertise into one thing. And it's like that thing, if you take the time to actually read that, you'll probably come up with some really good takeaways. Whether it's fiction or nonfiction, like storytelling is amazing in books. Like they always say the book is better than the movie, and like I have yet to see a movie that was better than the book that it was based off of. Like, and I haven't read all books and movies. I have not, but in all the ones that I have read and watched, it has been better in the book every single time. And
Yeah,
so it's slept on, man. It's hard because like they're demanding of time and attention for
yeah.
but I think that's the payoff of it. I think that they're some of the greatest things that you can consume, you know.
I think the type of imagination that they require just makes it feel like so interactive. Like you really have to dive into, well, at least for like fiction books. It's like
Mhm.
you really have to think and like imagine everything that the words are saying basically. I think it's just like I don't know how to explain it. It's different
Yeah.
than watching a movie. Like everything's kind of already done for you, like the visuals, the sound. Yeah. And yeah. Then with like a book you have to like really think about it and like imagine it yourself. It's just a different feeling.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool because everybody's mind and imagination is different. And so everybody will read the same book and think the characters look different or that the world looks slightly different. That's why like I
Yeah.
get kind of annoyed when I see books and like the main character's on there because I'm like, damn, that's what he looked. I can't even I can't like abstract it from myself, you know. Um, but I think that yeah, anytime like there's books I've read with G, like we've been reading the book at the same time, and I'll ask her, like, what do you think this character looks like? Or like, here's what I think the armor looks like, or here's what I think that power looks like, or this is what that vehicle they described looks like. And it's cool to see the difference between the two. Um,
Mhm.
because then that could even differ from the author, because you don't know what they they're just writing the best they can, but you don't know what they imagine it to look like, you know? And so it's really cool to see. I think that we should take more time to like draw out some of the things that you see in books because like some of the stuff be really cool and there's no visual representation of these things. And I'm like, they need it though. They need it. You know? I don't know. I don't know. I did I ever tell you about the Poppy War?
You did. I still need to read it.
That's a great I think that you would really enjoy that book. I highly recommend.
I want to get the book with the. I was looking up the book, and I think there's different cover variations, but there's the one with the girl and the bow, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's all of them, but it was like a really cool style. It kind of like gave a Mulan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I don't really want to speak too much on the plot because I think the story is engaging enough from like the very first page. So I think like all you have to do is start reading it. It'll carry you the rest of the way through. But yeah, highly recommend cuz that's a good story. I got my friend to read that. He had never read a book before ever.
Wow.
And he read all 3 books in the series.
Wow.
And it took him a while. It took him like almost a year or something. But
Mm.
those books are huge. And he
Oh,
finished them all. Like he would just read them like on his break at work and stuff. And he got them done. And so like if he read through all those, like the story's fire. Story is really, really good.
I need to read it.
Recommend. Highly recommend. So what Um, is there anything important that we have not yet discussed in this conversation? We've gone a million places.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of good topics. You had really good questions. Mm, I don't know.
Oh, good. I'm starting up a closing tradition on the podcast because the vertex is called the vertex because it's supposed to be a point of connection. I also want this to be an opportunity for the guest to connect with someone that they've wanted to connect with, whether it's a company, a person, an organization, anything like that. I'd like to know if there's any, like, whether it's a dream project or you just want to like let this person know how influential they were. Curious to know if there's anybody that you would like to connect with, and hoping that this podcast will connect you to them.
Wow. Uh, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people I would want to connect with. Maybe like James Jean. I love James Jean.
Mm-hmm.
He's,
James Jean. I'm gonna like I'm doing it in such a way where like I'll tag them, like I'll do the best I can, like making sure that I send these things these people's ways. I don't know if it's gonna work, but my hope
never.
is that over time, like it'll get strong enough to where like people will really
Yeah.
start making like those connections over time. And they'll be like, "Oh shit, I didn't even know. I've never seen this before," or whatever. But cool. What is it about James Jean? I'm curious to know. I know he's a beast. Like
Yeah.
that's like undeniable. Yeah, his stuff is he doesn't play fair. Even his prints. I mean, the prints
Yeah.
are crazy. Like they got all kind of finish and embossments, and I mean it's different. He plays a different kind of game.
He's crazy. I think
Yeah.
he mainly works with like acrylic too, and like the way that he renders with acrylic is so impressive. I was reading through one of his books in college, and I also really enjoy like how much like narrative he puts into his pieces. Like he really thinks of a concept, and it's like a very deep narrative. If you like read um, a statement about one of his pieces, it's really cool to see.
Hmm. I don't think I've ever sat down to really read a like a description of one of his pieces. Hmm. I have to check one of those out.
It brings a whole new or a whole nother level of like interpretation once you read like the story behind it.
Hmm. Man. And then it makes you want it even more after because you're like, damn, it was already cool, and now
Yeah,
the story just like brought it up 1,000 times. I want all of them.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that like this podcast does for us artists as well, because I think that a lot of times people just don't know our stories, and so they're just seeing all this cool work come out on these walls, and I mean, and they're driving past it with no context a lot of times. They're just like, yeah, it's beautiful. But then when you know the artist and you know what they've gone through and you know what they believe in, then like it helps you appreciate the work even more. And my hope is that like through people learning your story that they'll appreciate your work more and want to support it more, and just and then I think it's just important, like, to know, like, for people, because especially as your career grows and as people get to know you more and more, like, I think that That kind of stuff is really important. So yeah, like it's the strength of the artist is in that story, man. Once you get a good story, you can put anything on a canvas. Like you can like just yellow dot, bam. They're like, oh my god, it's beautiful. It's like it's perfect. It's like, mm-hmm.
I don't know about a
Yeah.
yellow dot.
Cause you think about them pieces
Well,
like
I
in the High Museum, and like the High Museum pieces be like red and blue, and that's the guy. And it's this guy who had like cancer or something, and then they like he died, and so like all his work is just priceless now, you know? And I'm making an exaggeration, and it's not actually what happened, but there's usually just like a very strong story tied to like
yeah,
a painting that could be relatively simple, and they enjoy it not even necessarily because of what the painting looks like, but because of like who the artist is that created it and the
never.
circumstances, you know. And so hoping that this can be like something like that too. Mhm.
Think so.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you so much for this conversation. This was very cool. I know that we've talked here and there over the years, but I feel like I learned a lot more about you uh over this conversation. And man, it really put me in it really helped see my work uh a different way as well, just in terms of like being more attentive to the narratives that I can find not only in the work that I want to tell, but just even in life. And
Mm.
I think that the knowledge you've shared with people will help a lot. You know, I can already see, you know, people resonating with your story in a lot of different ways and on a lot of fronts. And, you know, my hope is that, you know, you'll be getting messages and they're like, oh my God, your story saved my process, or like I can relate so much. So I appreciate you for doing this. You know, this was really cool, really, really fun.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Thank you so much for watching the episode. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is hearing about when someone resonates with something we said. It's truly the reason I continue to make these happen. Comment down below what stuck with you, and we can continue the discussion further. Also consider liking and subscribing. It helps me bring in more amazing creatives and helps me make this show better for you all every episode. Catch y'all next week.